This is the Spider the Nip podcast in association with the BFG podcast. Today, me, Denise, and Jonathan are here too, and she's back, to preview the Women's World Cup 2023 and some of the great stuff that we are going to see. So now that we can see you again, Denise, would you like to start?
You can see me now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Jonathan and I were there for the kickoff game in Napier, and that went very well for the Ferns. First of all, just setting the stage, it was a McLean Park, and it was a lovely stadium. It was a nice night. It wasn't bitter cold. It was not raining. It was just a nice night. I think they got about 6,200 fans. It was a good vibe, for sure in the stadium. So I was very happy about that. Jonathan, what's your take?
Yeah, it was the perfect size stadium for a great night of football. It was obvious that some of the Vietnamese players were caught out by the temperature change because some of them had gloves on and so on. But the stadium itself was impeccable. The crowd was really good, and it was, I hate to use the cliche, but it was a game of two halves. In the first half, the Ferns came out and it just dominated down the left-hand wing with Ali Riley and Jackie Hand, just repeated attacks down that side. And the first half was magnificent to watch. And in the second half, Yitka ran, the Football Friends coach made a whole lot of changes, and the team lost some of its dynamic and its dynamic play. It just wasn't quite as classy, I suppose. It just wasn't quite the same level. But overall, it was a very good game, and it was nice to see the Ferns get a win before the Cup.
God, it was so needed. So needed. Blake, what did you think of the general?
Well, we'll get on to some of the online commentary in a moment, but from the game that they showed on TV, because they've had a game since then, it was a remarkable improvement to what they previously were playing like. Now, some people can say yes, the opposition was a lot weaker and all of that, but compared to what we had, it was a remarkable improvement. A lot more attacking focused. A lot wider for the attackers, and not so defensive. I could go on all day, but it was just a remarkable improvement for me. For that game anyway.
Those 9 weeks in camp, they made a difference. They now know each other, and they know where each other is on the pitch. They looked to the right places to pass, and so the ball was moving, and that was really exciting to see the ball moving around.
So the return of Annie Longo, Rhea Percival, Stoddy was in there, Jackie Hand was in there, CJ Bott. Like we have, I was thinking about this, we have like this feeling, because we've seen our girls in the Knicks, we've seen our girls playing with the Ferns, and we're behind them and we're rooting for them. But we haven't, for those of us who are a little bit newer to the scene, we haven't seen the likes of those players who have come back from Europe. And they made a world of difference. Like Annalie Longo was just incredible. CJ Bott playing out from the back, she was fantastic. Jackie Hand and Ellie Riley's combination. Every time Stoddy was on the ball, India Page Riley, she's another one. So there was just these players who have come back into that top side they really do make a world of difference.
And what I liked is CJ Bott really came into her own. Like, I've seen her play in the Women's Prem, not in the UK, but the UK competition, and that's some of the best football I've seen her play, whether that be club or country. He was so good.
If we're gonna win, we need CJ Bott to be shooting balls for sure.
The only complaint I have about her is she chose to resign with leftover coming home. That's another story. I love her. Episode probably.
Leicester's everyone's favorite team, at least on the men's side. Hey, I know something about men's football, so it's you can't blame her. But yes, I understand the urge to bring them home and to see them for real. But yes, be mad, Blake.
Yeah. So in the article that I put together for Impetus, previewing the Ferns, one of the things I said was that Malia Steinmetz is a key player in that number 6 role, and she really creates the opportunities moving through the midfield, and she proved that against Vietnam. When she was on the ball, she was just able to direct it into attacking positions. So, yeah, the only thing that we were disappointed with in the match was no Grace Jale and no Paige Satchel. I do note that Paige came on and played again in the Ferns 1-0 loss to Italy, but Grace Jale hasn't played yet. So fingers crossed she gets some game time because Grace is quality.
Yeah.
Well, from what we heard, was the Italy game like compared to the Vietnam game, even though they lost? Were we able to hear? Did they play well? Did they do
the
okay?
Italy game? I mean, I don't know.
Has anyone come out and said, "Oh, they played
I think the point is to take some of the pressure off and just play, your game without having to go through all the media stuff. So I don't think any of us really know. We just know the score.
I did see a post match, and Hannah Wilkinson was commenting, and her comment was that the scoreline didn't reflect the game. The Ferns had a lot of opportunities, but they weren't clinical enough in taking them, which unfortunately sounds like the Ferns of old, creating opportunities but not getting the ball in the net. So, but that's only just what she said in post-match little snippet. So the only people who know are the people who were there, which was not the public.
That's a good segue, actually. So into Italy. So Denise, you might be able to help us with most of these. What are Italy usually like? Are they usually good?
They're good. Put me on the spot here, Blake. Thanks. I didn't watch Italy very much in the Euros. I know they have fantastic club teams with Juventus, and they're an emerging team, and I don't remember their playing style because I haven't watched them much recently.
They're in the same pool as Sweden, South Africa, and Argentina. So, if you go by their rankings, Italy should come through that pool okay. But who knows? Argentina might pull one out of the bag and come over the top of them to get through to the round of 16.
Yeah, Argentina has been that program. I do know. I mean, has been a growing program and doing much better internationally. But another team that's doing well was Portugal, and it puts into like perspective some of that big loss that New Zealand had against them. Portugal's a lot better team than people thought, and so it was an awful loss. I think it was a 5-0 or something like that we got smeared by them, but it does put into perspective, like they are a very good team and they are one to watch. But getting back to your point about missed chances, and you can say this for any soccer match, but you only have a few really good chances. I mean, if you're Chelsea and Sam Kerr, you have 6 or 7 chances to put it in the back of the net. But if you're Wilkie or if you're some of the other players, you might only have 1, 2, 3 chances. And so, I mean, the next part of the Ferns is to really get that mental focus in these big matches in front of, I mean, 40,000 people at least in front of Norway. I mean, that's awesome. But you also have to like zen out and go, this is the moment and I need to put in these chances. And I just wish they had more scoring opportunities of opponents leading up to these matches. So, all these teams that they've been playing have been very, very good. So now, with Vietnam, they put a couple in the back of the net. I just wish they had more practice in games putting balls in the back of the net. And some of that might be just playing opponents that aren't as good. So we'll see. I mean, you could say that for any team. The crucial moment is, having those precious striker moments that actually, end up, because the highest percentage of getting the ball in the back of the net is right in front of the goal.
Unfortunately for us, I kind of think that Norway are going to be like a dark horse in this cup, because like doing research on some of the teams, like it sounds like they're out for revenge from past comps, whether that be Euros or World Cups. So they could be like, unfortunately for us, in our first game, they could be a bit of a dark horse, I reckon.
Yeah.
So
they're going to be, we're facing a very difficult team opening match, no doubt. And it's up to the Ferns to ride the wave of the crowd and to really focus in, particularly our someone like Wilkie. I mean, we've seen her be hot in the A-League, right? We've seen her put goals into the net. Not this past year, but the year before. So she can do it. She has the size to do it. She has now she has, people pinging in some balls for her. So, let her use her size, her strength. I mean, I don't know. She needs to take some of that excellent guitar playing and turn that into like music for the team in the form of goals. But she's the player I need to have step up in a big way. Because I don't know if she's going to have another World Cup in her. This is it. And this is the biggest stage, I mean, I think these Kiwis will ever have in their career. So, yeah, I'd like them to handle the pressure brilliantly and ride the wave in this.
Then again, a lot of women think that a lot of women's players, as opposed to the men, seem to play a lot longer into their 40s and mid-40s. So
I don't know about mid-40s, but Sinclair just turned 40. There are some players who do hang around later. A lot of Americans hang around.
You can make a comeback, Denise. There's still time.
Yes.
but this will be I mean, if you're talking about older players, this will be the first time and last time that we see a lot of these players in the country. Like Rapinoe just announced that she's going. I think Sinclair in Australia will be there. This might be her last, or definitely.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of really old, big names. Well, older, big names. Excuse me, that are, getting near the end of their careers.
Experienced. We'll call it. I mean, Marta being, the 6-time World Player of the Year. I mean, this is her last World Cup. In fact, I almost thought the last one was the last World Cup. I don't think Formiga is in that one. This one, Formiga, it was a Brazilian who played for many years, and she was in her 40s playing, because she needed the money. Like, finally, they were being paid, and so she's like, "Okay, if they're paying me, I love doing this. Give me more money, and I will keep playing." Yeah, I think there's a lot of players. I think it would have been Becky Sauerbrun's last World Cup. There's a number of Americans where, like Kelly O'Hara, I don't know if we'll see her again. Even Alex Morgan, there's a lot of a talent, especially young talent in America that is coming up. So we'll see what happens. But I do think there's some football ferns that will move on after this. And so, like I said, Wilkie, I'm there for you. Come on, bring it.
And that's the thing. Like we know that she's got the ability. She's got the skill. Watching her play as an out-and-out striker, she positions herself well. She's got the physicality and the size. We just need that precision, that extra 1 or 2% that just gets the ball in the net. That's where it's at now, And I mean that's where the difference between the Lynn Williams, the Sam Kerrs, all those players who are just incredible strikers. That it's that final touch. It's that 1 or 2% that they just click. And that's what makes them exceptional. If Wilkie can find that, whatever that is for her, should be amazing. But we just really, really need that to come out.
And the other perspective is try and give her 6 or 7 chances, or 7 or 8 chances. One of them will go in. Really, even if it's being a bit more brave with some of these passes into the box. That's the other way to slice that one up, is just give her more shots.
I don't know if any of you saw, either of you saw the Australia go home, whatever they call it, game in Melbourne. But I watched it, and France,
Australia-France game?
Yeah, France are another quality team.
Yes.
But boy, did Australia get some bad injuries.
Yeah, I only watched the first half and went to sleep. I'm like a bed at 9:30 kind of person. Like, oh my God, I can't stay up.
Some of the injuries were horrendous.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it at all, Jonathon.
Yallop, right? Yallop got injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the injuries. I just couldn't stay up that late.
No.
I do. We can touch on the Ireland game as well. The Ireland played closed doors with Colombia, and Denise O'Sullivan got hit in the shin. Denise O'Sullivan is one of my all-time favorite players. Just incredible baller. And they just stopped the game 20 minutes in, and they had to do that. The irony is, Ireland was the team that took out the USA striker Mallory Swanson, and so they're a tough team, and to see them, they also play physical. So I'm sure they were both sort of dishing it out, and they just kind of said, no, that's enough.
How do you think they will do in this World Cup, despite that?
Ireland?
Yeah, despite
I think before the injury to Denise O'Sullivan, she will come back. She's a tough little chick, but if you have to figure out if your shin is broken, that then it's really hurt. I would have picked them to be a dark horse, but right now with the injury to, I think, their key player, a lot of people think it's Katie McCabe, but I think it's Denise O'Sullivan. I'm not sure they're going to get out of the group.
Do you think a lot of the controversy around the coaching and the culture and all of that come out in the past few weeks will hang over them a little bit?
I think this is a skilled Irish team, and I think they win despite their coach. I mean, a lot of people said that about Jill Ellis, like the USA team would win despite Jill Ellis. Like, I actually think Jill actually prepared the crap out of the team, and they were a lot more stable team with Jill there. But it's a similar thing that I think Ireland is very talented. I think she's helped them, but would I hired Vera? I mean, I knew, having followed the NWSL, that she was, and Twitter, that she was not a revered person. You know, she's Dutch, she's tough, she's direct, and that's her defense. And that she had a small budget. She didn't have a nutritionist there, where other teams have a bigger budget and they can have someone looking after people's nutrition. So she kind of took that role on. But ultimately you gotta trust the players. And if the players are like, she's not a good vibe person. I remember when Christy Mewis and Rachel Daly came out of a match. I can't remember which one of them. And Vera Powell put up her like double high fives, and one of them just walked right by her. So you kind of have to trust that. I mean, but in Vera's defense, she says, if I were a man and I did these things, people wouldn't come at me. So I don't know. We're not there. But I do think it was a mistake in Ireland to hire her. But you know, despite that, she is a good coach.
So,
Sorry.
Just before you go, I'm a bit disappointed in this, because Ireland, I would love to see Ireland play, and Ireland are playing Canada in Perth. Like, it's not even in Sydney. I can't even just jump across the ditch to go and watch. This is a late night watching game. And I think that Canada-Ireland game could be the game of the round in that Group B. I think Ireland and Canada will bring it.
100%. That is right on. I think Canada is a little bit discombobulated because they are at war with their federation, who has not paid them. They did not have a send-off match. They have no momentum coming in. Yeah, they're just jerks at the federation. They cut their budget going into a World Cup. I mean, come on. So that match will be really good. A side note, Reuters, when they were putting in information about what happened with the Ireland-Colombia, they put in a photo of Northern Ireland. A complete It's like, oh, come on, you guys, just get the basics right here.
Just going back to the Ireland Colombia thing for one more second. I found it odd that in their statement, their supposed statement of whether it was them or the fan group, that they allegedly claimed that they had another training session instead. Is that really
the drills instead?
Is that really a good idea? I thought that was a bit weird. That they ended up having another training session instead.
Oh, you mean they just took the field and was like they played themselves, or yeah, whatever. You know,
allegedly they had another training session instead.
Fair enough. Get some people out from the crowd. Come on down. Let's smoke ya. Let's break some shins, baby. No, it's just all in all, it's unfortunate. But you know, these teams are geared up and they're ready to go. And you know, I mean, we listened to Nell. Nell's like, tackle them hard. So they probably just.
So, also in Group B, and not to be counted out, is Nigeria. And Nigeria did a number on New Zealand not a couple of months ago. And Nigeria have some very, very good players in their team. However, they're another squad which is having huge issues with its national body. I don't think they'll make it out of the pool because they're up against Australia, Ireland, and Canada. But I do think Nigeria are going to give those teams a bloody good run for their money.
Yeah, Nigeria is very hard. The African teams are very hard, and they can be hard to play against. Last World Cup, the Ferns were up against Cameroon in their final match, and if they just scored, like they would have been into the knockouts, and they couldn't. And they're a physical bunch. A lot of them are playing in the leagues across the world, not necessarily as much in Africa anymore. If they can get out, they do. Yeah, the African teams are definitely one to watch. I think the one of the interesting regions also is actually countries is the Philippines. We're going to have to go up against them, and they are an international bunch. The former coach of Australia took that team. He got fired from Australia for cultural reasons. He's like, I'm going to go take this team and I'm going to go find some great players. And he found a bunch of Americans, found a bunch of people who were playing in the A-League, just really the Philippines from abroad. And that is a team to watch. And it's a scary team, and hopefully a team we can beat. Like, if we don't beat Norway, I am like, we got a few tough teams to beat, and one of them is the Philippines.
I mean, I love how they claimed that he had a culture problem like so many other teams, and the only difference is he was like, "I'll show you," and then he goes and does what he did. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
One thing that has happened though is that for the Philippines in their warm-up game, they got trounced. So whether or not they can adjust to the conditions in New Zealand will be interesting, because, and I think this is true of the whole cup, because the one of the semi-finals and the final are being played in Australia. So, for the side of the pool, or all the pools that are playing in New Zealand, they're going to have to adjust to the weather, and it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I think that might be a bit of a leveler for some of the teams.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's windy in Wellington. There's a reason why that's kind of a phrase. It's windy in New Zealand. It spontaneously rains, and those are things you play through. You don't see a lot of thunderstorms here, but you do see wind and rain, and you can't simulate that in California. There's no way. The only one who was like, I'm at home was Rapinoe, because she's from, she lives in Seattle and Portland, and they're pretty miserable places. But it's summer there, and all these teams, it's, you can't, if you're going long ball, the ball's going to get pushed in the wind. And the Kiwis do have an advantage because they've been playing in this stuff for 9 weeks.
Well, the one place that doesn't happen is Dunedin, because Forsyth Bar Stadium does have a roof on it, so that does make Dunedin different. But Wellington, Auckland, and Hamilton are all open air stadiums, and the elements of weather will definitely come in. And we saw that with Vietnam. The players with the long sleeves. There was a couple wearing gloves. The weather definitely could come into factor. And then conversely, over in Australia, where it's hot, it's hot all year round, that who knows how that might play out for some teams.
Yeah. There's a lot of hype, a lot of media going on in Australia right now. It seems to be carrying the Australian team. But we'll see. What do you guys think? Or is the hype and the pressure and all the media that they're doing, is that a good thing, or will they get exhausted from it? What do you think?
Well, it depends what it is, because you've got different types of coverage. You've got some of the teams have allegedly been insulting some of the cultures by, doing the huggers and different cultural dances like Spain and the Netherlands and all of that. And then you've got the positive coverage of little kids getting to meet their idols and so on and so forth, and all those beautiful moments. going into the children's hospital, me, hanging out with the sick kids. So it's a catch-22 really. It's good and bad.
I think the media and the hype and the attention for the Australian team is fantastic. However, I don't know. I mean, Australia is seeded 10th from the comp. I just don't know if they're that good or whether they're going to be able to play all the way through. I'd love to see them do well. But I don't know that they're going to go all the way. And so the flip side to all the positive hype is then you get all the naysayers and all the I told you they weren't very good. I got all that media, blah blah blah. You get all that negativity, and you just don't need it. Like, it's just celebrate the game. So I think for Australia, it'll carry them through the tough moments. And if they have a hard loss here or there, that hype and that emotion will help them to overcome some of those obstacles. Whereas for the Ferns or some of these other teams that haven't got that as much home soil support, they may find it a little bit harder.
Yeah,
Personally, I think. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Blake.
Personally, I think Australia are in a lot of trouble after the other night. They've lost a couple of their best players, and they could be in trouble to what they were a week ago. And yes, people say, oh, you shouldn't rely on one or two players, but one or two players in a cup like this can make the difference. For me, anyway.
France. Mary Fowler scored. I mean, this is someone who could have played for New Zealand. She could have played for Ireland. Her family chose to play for Australia. It was quite a drama for a while. And she scored. And that was a plan that came together, like that they've been brewing for many years. And so I think they beat France. I mean, let's be real. They beat France on home soil. I think they're a contender. I mean, I put it out there. Can they deal with the pressure? They clearly can. I mean, they're on the tougher side of the draw, so we'll see what happens. We'll see how they go. They're on the England-Germany side of the draw. But I think they can at least make the semis with the roar of the crowd, and who knows? I mean, Brazil's over there too. I mean, it's going to be a tough group.
Any team that is playing against Australia needs to watch the match where the Phoenix beat Sydney. Was it like 3-0? And Mickey Foster had Courtney Vine in her pocket the whole game. So if anyone wants to know how to shut down Australia, they need to watch that game where Mickey Foster owned Courtney Vine.
How about Mickey Foster? I mean, let's just talk a little bit more about the Ferns.
If I can, before we do, I just want to ask you guys about the crowd controversies and the ticket sales and stuff like that. Now, there's a lot of controversy, media talk, I guess, around the tickets sold in Australia compared to here, and do we deserve to be co-host, and tra-la-la-la-la. What are your guys' opinions around this? Because it's been quite a hot topic in a lot of chat rooms over the last week or so.
I mean, how far back do you want to go? I mean, we can go back to the origins of how New Zealand wanted to bid on its own. Hey, New Zealand is a hot country. They had a great world leader. We were going to do our own bid. Australia was trying to do their own bid. And there were some other countries. Who else was going on? Was it Brazil?
Yeah.
There was a South American country. I think it was Colombia. I could be wrong. They were up for it. There's, so all these, momentum was coming together, and you have to go for votes. And so Australia was like, okay, we're New Zealand. You want to hold hands and do this together? because we're going to need we can't split the votes here around this, and we're gonna look stronger if we do a joint bid. Joint bids seem to be like the cool thing that countries are doing now with the World Cups. So there's that thing. And then, we're a small country. We're only max 5 to 6 million. And when I looked at my schedule I'm following the Ferns and I'm following USA, I physically couldn't make it to any of those matches except for Zambia, Japan, which I'm doing. I think I'm doing that game that night. I'm going to 2 matches that day. So when I looked at the 2 major draws on this side, I physically couldn't go to those games that were going to be free. And that told to me was football fans have chosen probably the Ferns and USA. And I'm not surprised the other matches didn't sell much because they just schedule didn't work.
And for me, I think FIFA are partly to blame and shot themselves in the foot because they don't allow World Cup sales. And in a lot of Oceania countries like this, we are typically famous for our World Cup sales. And by doing, now it may be small, it may be large, but by having this rule that, we don't want walk-up sales, we don't want gate sales, we want people to buy online because it's a new thing, they're losing a lot of custom. Wow.
But the counter to that, Blake, is that the cost of tickets is so low. Like to go and watch world-class teams play a game of football for $20 New Zealand, which is, like $12 US. And there's no fees on the ticketing chart. If you're paying $20 New Zealand, you're paying $20 New Zealand. That's it. So I can see where people say, "Oh, gate sales," but then that approach would actually drive up the cost of tickets. So, that's the flip side to that argument. And yeah, I agree. New Zealand Kiwis are notorious for waiting till the last minute. But
and I think no one kind of really understood that. I mean, I don't think Americans, I don't think Europeans understand Kiwis just rock up at the last minute. I mean, that's really culturally not something that either of those cultures do. So I think Blake has a point in that they didn't quite understand their market, but I'm not sure Kiwis would just rock up to Zambia, Japan. Like, it's going to be a phenomenal game, and I'm very excited to watch Zambia, Japan. I mean, Zambia just beat Germany. Japan's a great team. Yeah, beautiful to watch. Beautiful football.
I'm not saying a game in particular. What I'm saying is somebody might decide, oh, it's a beautiful day. I want to go to game XYZ, or I want to go to, England, Australia, or whatever the game might be. And they don't have that opportunity, especially if it's older people who are not used to online because they can't buy at the gate.
Fair enough. That's a fair comment, Blake. I think FIFA was culturally blind to that, but they also, have to organize a huge event. So.
Sorry. The last couple of teams, but I'll let Jonathon go first. The last couple of teams I wanted to touch on was Germany and England, but I'll let Jonathon say his point first.
Just before we go to the Germany-England thing, around the ticket sales, I actually think in New Zealand that this World Cup was one rotation too soon. And I mean that from the point of view of spectators and fans watching the game, because it's only, we've really, us three have been supporting, really getting into women's football in New Zealand since the Wellington Phoenix women's team came into existence. And so that's only 2 seasons old. And so our bias has been towards, we know the Phoenix players, we know how they work in the Ferns, and so we've had a bias of supporting them. But now these other players are coming back from overseas, Daisy Cleverly, CJ Bott, Betsy Hess, all these other players, and we're going, wow, this is fantastic. And we're people who are already invested in the game and watching it. I think if this World Cup was being played in the next rotation in 4 years' time, I think a lot more Kiwis would know who our players are and who to support. And I think that would have driven up pre-sales beforehand. But for the Matildas, it's absolutely the right time because their public know who their players are. And Football Australia has been doing some fantastic PR work with getting their players in front of the crowds. And so people know who they're going to watch. So that's my little bit around the ticketing part.
I just hope that in the future FIFA are more inclusive of their market. That's something that'd be nice to see. Now the final two teams I want to discuss are Germany and the Lionesses, England. Germany haven't had a good warm-up campaign. They lost to I think it was Zambia, and in the final moments of the game, they've also lost a couple of players. Do you think their dynasty, as some people might call it, might be cooling off a bit like their male counterparts, Denise?
Listen, they have Alexander Pop, and she is, I mean, she's a freight train, and she can just carry that team. I mean, she wasn't available for the finals of the Euros. And if she was available, Germany probably would have won the Euros. Like, she is very, very good. And this is her time. She's always been good. She's been good for the last 8 years, so she's never underestimate Germany. They're number 2 in the world for forever, for a reason. I think last time they were number 1 was 2015 going into that tournament, but they've been pretty rock solid at number 2. We don't get to see the Frauen Bundesliga a lot, so I don't get as much exposure to as many German players as I'd like. It's just time zone difficult. Now there's Ada Football and I can watch this, but I'm not one to watch replays. I like seeing things live. And so I miss a lot of the Frauen Bundesliga and a lot of the talent on the team. But they do have some injuries, as does England.
Beekman has brought a very good squad to Australia. Even with the injuries, I think they can be another team that's quite competitive.
England, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, England. Yeah, I reckon they could be another competitive team in this cup.
Oh, Beekman is the best coach in the world. Serena just knows what to do, and she's going to be very prepared. And so there are, yes, their captain's down, their defense is sort of all over the place. I'm not sure how they're going to put that piece together. But Wigman will have a plan, and she will stick to it, and she will give them confidence that they deserve. And listen, I've watched Rachel Daly play for many years, and they had put her at right back, left back. Like, she's not a back; she is a forward, and she can tear people up with her sort of just dynamic, fearless play. So she's kind of emerged in front of their eyes this year, and I'm like, yeah, we know that. Bethany England made the team, and she's someone that, man, she's raring to go. She's ready to score some goals. They're the kind of underdog of the top dogs right now. They think, it's funny to say that about the European champions, but they're like, oh, we're injured. No, they're going to be ready. They're going to be prepared. They're going to have an entire nation watching them. I mean, as you know, England's just football crazy. I think they'll do well. And largely because they have the talent, but they have the coach who knows what to do with the talent.
As we begin to wind down a bit, do you have any semi-final, maybe even final predictions? I'm going to go. Now I'm going to be completely wrong because I keep forgetting how the group stuff works, but I can fantasize. Anyway, I'm going to go maybe England, and if I could, I would have England and maybe France. Just, something a bit different is what I would
I
like.
think they're on the same side of the draw. Are they on the same side of the draw, Jonathan?
I don't know how it works, so I'm just
Yeah.
fantasizing.
Yeah, but well, okay, we'll just say England, France. How about you, Jonathan?
Oh, I would like dream final. Absolute dream final would be the USA versus Brazil.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
like
I think that I think Marta could do a Messi at this World Cup. I think she could. I think she's got the drive and the determination. I think she could. Where you've got Dabinia, Caroline, Berninia, you've got Marta. I think Brazil. I would love to see Brazil USA.
yeah, I would love that too. I mean, so the thing about the NWSL is they cooked Canada, they made them better. And the NWSL, with its incredible intense competition every week, has made Brazil better. Marta was like, hey, you Brazilians, you come play here. Don't scatter all over the place. Play here. I'm going to watch you. We're going to come together. And they also have an incredible coach too. What's her name? It plays the guitar. She was the former Netherlands coach. I'm sorry, the former Sweden coach who has beaten the US in the Olympics. So she won that. She was the
I
former
know the one you're
USA
talking about. I can't
coach.
remember.
What's that?
I know the one you're talking about. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, why can't I remember her name? But she's very, very good. She plays the guitar. They get them to all sing together. But so I think Brazil, I mean, both Jonathan and I are like dark horse Brazil. My favorite final would be USA Australia. I think that would be a lot of fun. And I think that it would be a mad house because there's a lot of USA fans who bought tickets, and there's a lot of Australian fans who have tickets to that final. I think there would be very few neutrals, and that place would rock out.
I just think it'd be nice to see Rapinoe go out on top. That would be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. I mean, listen, Rapinoe's just a special person. I think she's done wonders for the game, the political parts of the game. Her and a lot of people. I think, someone like Alex Morgan has done incredible stuff for the game. Um, you know, Sam Kerr, she is in her own way, you remember when she just like, there was a pitch invader and she just went over and just like slammed him. I think she, like there's something about like that spirit that was like, no, get out of the way. We're here to play. And so there'll be a lot of brave people on that pitch if that happens. But all these players are that, they're just think about what you had to go through to represent your country. All these players, incredible people.
My prediction for player of the tournament is what's her name? Sophia Smith from the US. She's my player. I reckon she's going to get player of the tournament. She is dynamic. She is young. She has hot feet. She's on the ball. I think that's my player of the tournament.
Yeah. Golden boot. Golden ball.
Anything else you want to say, Jonathan, as we finish up here?
I've only got one thing to say, and that's go Brazil. Brazil are my big team behind. I'm all about the Ferns, and I'm all about Brazil this World Cup.
Yay. Hey, I'm just happy that you two, like, we're all going to be around for the Netherlands USA match. That Blake's getting out there and going and having some fun. That's great, and I applaud FIFA. Blake's ticket was cheap, very, very cheap, and the person he goes with is free. So right on FIFA for making all this accessible to as many people as possible.
So, just so that everyone knows before we go, I'll be writing some articles during the World Cup, so we'll let you know where to find those for the people watching and listening too.
Yeah, I'll be doing some tiki-takis for Impetus and actually something for the Athletic, which is cool. I think the Athletics are actually chucking some coins at me to do. I don't know what. I'm going to invest in like a selfie stick so I can do.
We tried doing some TikTok content before the Napier game and it didn't go well. So you're going to have to work on that, Denise. You're going to have to get a coach for that.
I know. I need to be like 20 years younger.
And I guess it's a good time to say thank you for all the people who have been supporting us the last few years up in the lead to this World Cup, because it's support from all of you that allows us to get these great opportunities that we're getting. So
Right on.
thank you for that.
Thank you, everyone.
But on that note, we hope everyone enjoys the World Cup. If you see us if you're a listener and you see us out and about, come up and say hi.
Woohoo! Go Ferns! Go Ferns!
Go the Ferns, go the Matildas, go Brazil, go the Lionesses, and any other team you support. You can watch our content on YouTube. You can listen to it on all your audio platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're everywhere. But until the next time, we'll see you on the next one.
Yay.
Go the Warriors! Go the Warriors!